Jai Shri Ram. John Dewey, a great American thinker, philosopher, psychologist, public intellectual, and a man who transformed education in America. He transformed schools, and his theory is broadly known as pragmatism, connecting students to real life, encouraging them to become critical thinkers and idealists. So, these are some quotes of John Dewey I have collected. Please listen carefully. Education is not preparation for life. Education is life itself. Hmm? Education is life itself. And education is not an affair of of telling and being told, but an active and constructive process. Active and constructive process. We do not learn from experience. We learn from reflecting on experience. Okay, you learn from reflecting on experience. Learning is the product of the activity of learners. So passive learning is the worst kind of learning. Okay. The good man is the man who, no matter how morally unworthy he has been, is moving to become better. Okay. And this is one of my favorites. If we teach today's students as we taught yesterday's, we rob them of tomorrow. If we teach today's students as we taught yesterday's, we rob them of tomorrow. The belief that all genuine education comes about through experience does not mean that all experiences are genuinely or equally educative. We learn to do by doing. You learn to do by doing. Education is a process of living and not a preparation for future living. Give the students something to do, not something to learn. And when the doing is of such a nature as to demand thinking, learning naturally occurs. Wow, what a quote. Listen again. Give the pupil something to do, not something to learn. And when the doing is of such a nature as to demand thinking, learning naturally results. So that's what I do in the Scrabble class and even in the GRE. I give you something to do with a little bit of my instructions, and then you start working. That's when you learn. It would be impossible to find a deeper sense of the function of education in discovering and developing personal capacities and training them so that they would connect with the activities of others. Education is a process of living. Is a process of living and not a preparation for future living. What next? Let's see. The goal of education is to enable individuals to continue their education. The goal of education is to continue education. There is no paradox in the fact that the principle of continuity of experience may operate so as to leave a person arrested on a low plane of development in a way which limits later capacity for growth. On the other hand, if an experience arouses curiosity, strengthens initiative, and sets up desires and purposes that are sufficiently intense to carry a person over dead places in the future, continuity works in a very different way. Every experience is a moving force. Education is life itself. What more do you want? Isn't it wonderful? Example is notoriously more potent than precept. Precept means rule. Be an example. Be a role model. Loka sangraham. To find out what one is fitted to do and to secure an opportunity to do it is the key to happiness. That's what Bhagavad Gita also tells you. To find out what you are fitted to do and to secure an opportunity to do it. That is the key to happiness. So, and John Dewey also says, I believe that education is the fundamental method of social progress and reform. Social progress and reform. And what about the aim of education is to enable individuals to continue their education, and the object and reward of learning is continued capacity for growth. Now, this idea cannot be applied to all the members of a society except where intercourse of man with man is mutual, and except where there is adequate provision for the reconstruction of social habits and institutions by means of wide stimulation arising from equitably distributed interests, and this means a democratic society. The curious mind is constantly alert and exploring, seeking material for thought, as a vigorous and healthy body is on the qui vive for nutriment. Qui vive, Q-U-I-V-I-V, on the quick for nutriment. Eagerness for experience, for new and varied contacts is found where wonder is found. Such curiosity is the only sure guarantee of the acquisition of the primary facts upon which inference must base itself. Anyone who has begun to think places some portion of the world in jeopardy. Good one. Anyone who has begun to think places some portion of the world in jeopardy. Be very scared when Krishna lets loose a thinker on the world. Everything is in jeopardy. So what more, Mr. John Dewey? Amazing quotes, isn't it? So I think you can listen to this again and again. So education is the fundamental method of social progress and reform. Keep educating people. Don't make them like dumbos who are whose brains are filled with useless, silly facts which can be easily found on Google. Education should teach us to think and question, draw inferences, reasoning. Instead of that, we are being taught to memorize silly stuff which is already available on Google. Hey Ram, Jai Shri Ram.